All right, welcome, Rails Car Guy. We're doing a 2003 Chevy Tahoe water pump. First thing you want to do is unscrew that. I was starting to unscrew that so I can take this all the way off, but just unscrew that one, pull back on it, and flip it to the side. I might take it off later if it's in the way. The next thing you got to do is get this fan loose. I'm going to take a big wrench. Take a big crescent wrench or something and put on the fan. I already broke it loose, but I'm about to show you how I did it. Anyway, you put this on this fan. Put this on this fan, take a hammer, hit it to the left. Boom. That way, leave the belt and everything on that way. It breaks that loose. Then you want to spin this fan off of here. Be careful, don't let it drop and smack the radiator. Sorry for the angles. I don't have a GoPro or anything. It's just me. I was a car guy doing what I love to do. Let's work on cars. Spin that off. After you get this off, you want to take that serpentine belt off, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Whoa. Okay. Just don't do that. All right. Now we got to take this belt off. Basically, to get the belt off, you're going to put a socket right here. You see this moves back? It's the tensioner. Put a wrench or something and turn to the right. Make it move back. Then slide the belt from up under this pulley. Pop that belt off. Put a wrench on there or a ratchet. I think it's a 14 millimeter. And turn it to the right. Pop the belt off. The belt is off. It ended up being a 15 millimeter bolt right there on the tensioner. Now you want to take this top hose off. So pliers, squeeze. Work that way up. If the car is hot, man, you probably don't want to work on it. I think this customer just drove this vehicle because they had no other form of transportation. But get this off of here. Actually, let me get this clamp off and pull this hose off, and I'll be right back. Next thing you want to do is remove this tension off of here. It's two 15 millimeter bolts. There's one down here, and there's one right here. Take those two off, move that out the way. Then you want to move all the 10 millimeter bolts. 1, 2, 3. There's one up under that. My finger's at 4. There's 3 on this side too. There's one up under here. Best way to do that is you can look at the new water pump and see where all the bolts are at, and take out all those 10 millimeter bolts after you move this tensioner out the way. Move the two 15 millimeter bolts out the way. I'll be back after that. Okay, here go the tensioner. As you see, it's 3 bolts. One is short, so make sure the short one goes at the bottom. The 2 long ones got the sleeves, so you know the long ones go in there. If you're not sure where the bolts go, make sure you put the bolts back where they go, like that. And then you know where they go. Same thing with the water pump. But changing plans, we're going to take off 2 10 millimeter bolts on a thermostat. Let's take that off. And then move the thermostat housing out the way. Then we're going to take this clamp and this clamp off, move those hoses off of there. Then we'll work on getting all these 10 millimeters out of the water pump. After we get the hoses, 2 hoses off, and this thermostat off, you might just want to just take the hose off, or you can just take the housings off, whichever choice you decide to do. I'll be back after I get this off and those 2 lines off. look what we have here. So those were the 3 bolts for the tensioner. These are 1, 2, 3 10mm water pump bolts. 1, 2, 3 water pump. Boom, you're off of there. After you take the thermostat off, boom, take them 2 bolts out with your 10mm. Them 2 hoses off, them 2 bolts off, them 3 bolts out the tensioner. Move it. Move those 6 water pump bolts itself. And it's off of there. Now you want to clean the surface of this water pump housing right around in there. Clean that off real good. And the same thing with this side. Clean that off real good. You shouldn't need any gasket sealant because you got those gaskets don't require that. Let me clean that off and get this set back in place. Okay, I'm back. Crazy things happened. I was gone for a minute. You wouldn't know it, but I was. They had an old part in the box like this when I went to put the new one on. So anyway, yeah. Now back in action. Now when you go to install this, you want to put 2 screws, one at the top, one at the bottom, on both sides with the gasket sitting there like this. You don't need sealant with these type of gaskets. And slowly pick it up like this while you're holding those screws in place so the shit don't just slide off. And line it up and start the top one on this side and then start the top screw on this side. And then you'll be able to really start all the screws where it can hold this in place. Hers came with a fan clutch, just 4 bolts. The fan sit on top of that. Take out the 4 bolts, move the fan, put the new one up under it, put the fan back on top of it, put the 4 bolts in. Boom. Fan clutch done, that easy. All right. This is where I'm at. So I got the water pump on, nice and snug down. You really didn't need gasket glue, but her thermostat stuff looked at old, her gasket, so I put new sealant around it. Boom, boom, put the 2 hoses back on. Now it's ready to get the tensioner put back on. With those 3 screw holes, 1, 2, and 3. Put the tensioner back on. Then I think I'm gonna go ahead and put the belt on while the fan is off. I'm gonna put the belt on the correct way it goes. Then I'm gonna spin that fan, line that fan up and spin it on there. Then I'll put this top hose on, which is simple. I'll put that on. And I'll put this cover back on to the throttle body, hook it up to the air intake, and that's it, man. Fill this thing up with antifreeze and you're done. Water pump installed, just that simple. Rails a Car Guy, subscribe to my channel. Subscribe.